Welcome everyone to Southern New Hampshire University Justice 224, Activity 3-2, which is identifying a legal issue and its solution. The purpose of this exercise is to help you assess your analytical and research skills by addressing a problem a police officer might encounter. That makes this slightly different than the case study we're using for the final project. Citizens demand resolution to quality of life issues. That's significantly different than maybe the traditional crime fighting issues. You need to work on identifying the issues and effectively find answers. To do that will require research skills. So sometimes you wonder, gosh, will I ever use this? Here is a very realistic, applicable opportunity where you could be a police officer and use the research skills you've learned in this class. The prompt or the facts of the case study are that you are a police officer working in your community. You attended a community meeting and the residents are just up in arms about the noise. They're complaining that cars with loud booming speakers and motorcycles that seem to have no mufflers, and the police are doing nothing. That's the complaint from the public. The town noise ordinance, easy for me to say, has been determined that it's unconstitutional. So your supervisor tells you that the chief of police wants you to do some research to determine the best legal way to deal with specific noise issues. Okay, so here's what you must address in this assignment, and that is, what is the specific issue here? Explain the steps you went through or will go through to identify that issue. Propose a solution based on an analysis of law, and explain whether a new state noise statute should be created, or should you try to write a new city ordinance. And then you need to defend your decision by using scholarly sources. Before we move on here, I encourage you, don't overthink this. Think about it in the context of a police officer working a patrol beat or an area, gets assigned to go to a community meeting. The whole neighborhood shook up because of loud motorcycles and people playing music in cars. Okay, it's not an overly complicated situation, very realistic. The specific issue is disturbing the peace, and that is by motorcycles without mufflers and by people playing loud music. So the issue is disturbing the peace. It's not the constitutionality of a town ordinance. That's done and gone. And that would not be in the purview of a police officer, certainly not a patrol police officer, trying to find solutions to go back to a community. So that's really not. It's a bit of a red herring. Now, could we argue it? Absolutely. But take this for what it is. How are you going to figure this all out? You're going to use secondary sources for things like vehicle noise, mufflers, loud music in vehicles, disturbing the peace, all of those kinds of things. Because unless you're a police officer, you really don't have a good working knowledge of what all these mean. An example, disturbing the peace, in most states, it'll be worded slightly differently, is going to talk about a loud and tumultuous act, meaning you're doing something intentionally, an intentional loud and tumultuous act, that disturbs the peace of others. Okay, and that means that you have to be told you're doing it. So that if this playing of loud music or racing your motorcycle up and down is disturbing someone's peace, perhaps that's considered a loud and tumultuous act. The primary source for this is the vehicle code for your state, because every state I'm familiar with, I've never come across one, states require mufflers on vehicles, or a modified exhaust, which I should have put over there in vocabulary so that you could learn about modified exhaust. You can't, in most states, you can't have a loud exhaust system, a modified exhaust system. So you're going to use the vehicle code and you're going to look for the requirements to put mufflers on cars or modified exhaust on cars and or motorcycles. Then you're going to look for a vehicle code for loud music from cars, and that will come as a surprise to many of you. But in most states in the United States, it is against the law to play amplified or loud music, to make loud noise that can be heard more than 50 feet away from that car. So you're going to look at the vehicle code and see if that fits these circumstances. The third thing that you'll look at, that you may look at, would be disturbing the peace. I already went through that, but by doing secondary search and then a primary source, a secondary source and a primary source, you should be able to get the idea of whether disturbing the peace is applicable in your state. So here's your solution to this problem where the neighbors are all up in arms, and I'm sure the police officers in the class have already gotten this figured out. You use the existing laws, you stop the motorcycle operators, and you warn them of the violation. If they continue to do it, then they get a citation or a summons. Using the existing laws, you stop the people operating the vehicles playing loud music and warn them of the violation. And that if it continues, that they'll get a citation or a summons. And so sorry about that. That they'll get a citation or a summons. The defense of your position is that these are existing laws that were passed to control legal issues that have the same or very similar facts. So, okay, you've got somebody riding a motorcycle with a modified exhaust or no mufflers. It's against the law, can't do that. You got somebody that's sitting out there with their boombox going or their speakers in the back banging away and you can hear it more than 50 feet from a car. Can't do that. Citations. We don't need a new law. Now, if none of those apply, then you go to the disturbing the peace section. Okay. Next up is the rubric. Please pay attention to that rubric because it is a little different than others. This is a bit of a standalone assignment. You have to analyze the facts and that your choices were well supported and conceptualized. You put them into the context of the facts of the situation. Your research methods. Did you demonstrate a keen ability to view this situation through various analytical lenses? Did you examine all the options? And then a proposed solution. Do you have a description of a proposed solution and you encompassed all the relevant issues? Okay, and then of course articulation of response. I hope that helps you keep the cards and letters coming. If you need help, let me know.